Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Cone Dodger here. Welcome back to Automation, the car company tycoon game. Continuing on our playthrough of the Lite campaign in the Vanity Fantasy playthrough. And Fantasy is quite a fitting theme for the day. It is 1991. We've just gotten the Sharky and the Jaws in production. However, it is now 1991 and we haven't really gotten anything new rolling on the agenda, and that is probably going to need to be our first Mark III vehicle. And that will not be the Magnet, it will be the Truffle. So another van in the pipelines for today. And this van, we're currently at $13 billion in total money. The Truffle Mark II has made $8.4 billion of that. So Mark III Truffle's got some mighty big shoes to fill. Unfortunately, being designed in 1975, the Truffle's gotta go. The Truffle Mark II has got to go anyway. It has started to struggle in comparison to what it used to be doing. It's still making a pretty healthy profit. It's actually the second highest profiting vehicle in our lineup, but it's been such a sharp decline lately that I know it's time to go ahead and make a replacement. I would love to make a replacement for the Magnet, which was our small commuter car, city car. Can't seem to do it. I was messing around with Sandbox earlier. 1991 small commuter cars is something that I just can't seem to physically be able to make. So I'm going to hold off a couple years on that. The Magnet Mark II is still doing just fine. So hopefully it holds out for at least a few more years, and we'll give it another try. Let's see, the Jaws is kind of our family car. It's just coming online, and the Sharky is our new convertible slash sports coupe, and it seems to have an initial indication of doing pretty well. So overall, our company is in good shape. The economy, it's been interesting. We had a huge decline there, but our company did quite well through the entire decline. That is encouraging because in previous playthroughs, I had quite a hard time living through a decline like this. But I think our company is now well-rounded enough that it can survive. We do have, let's see, we have the Zoids in production, which is kind of our just for fun build car. It is our only car currently losing us money. However, it has overall turned a profit. So certainly no failure with that car. I just need to go in and likely knock it down a few pegs on production. And also consider probably making a replacement for it. This car is selling, actually I would like to know, what exactly is it selling to? Track Premium Track, Light Sport. So the sport and more premium categories is where this one's at. So that would probably be the next car to be redone, beyond the Truffle and the Magnet. Depending on how things go, we might work on that today, because I'm just really not in the mood to try and tackle the Magnet problem. The little bit that I messed around in the sandbox wasn't looking too promising. So let's go ahead and make a new car. And we're going to look at the vans. How we doing in the van people mover? Sorry, not van, people mover. Technically this will be more of a utility, but we'll see. Oh, okay. We have two to choose from. Is this what the Truffle was? I don't think it is. I have to go look now. Well, that would have been 10 years ago, so no. Because this car is now 16 years old, something like that. But I just want to see it. I want to see it. Okay, gotcha. Alright. There's our moneymaker right there. A face that only a mother could love. Alright, so either one of those would be fine. So back to vans. People mover, sorry, people mover. 10 years. We got this one or this one. I think this is more in line with the underlying spirit of what the Truffle is, and that is more of the conversion van than it is the minivan, which is what this is looking like. So let's go with this guy and see what we can do. Styling vans. Probably the least interesting thing you can do in automation. So I'll go ahead and do that off camera. But chassis-wise, it is the 90s. We could move to a monocoque chassis. I don't think we did that for the last one. I'm not sure. The difference is pretty much minimal. I think I'll go and try the monocoque just to see. And here's an option that I have, for some reason, overlooked, and that is galvanized steel for the chassis material. It's a lot better, actually, than corrosive-resistant steel in many ways. It's not quite as good in, I think it's corrosion resistance. Medium factory will certainly do that, but it will save us money overall. And yeah, I'm going to try it. Let's stick with longitudinal. Let's stick with McPherson strut. And in the rear, of course, we want it to have some utility, but we also want it to have the ability to be comfortable. And that comfort is low. What's the utility on, say... Well, utility is not really even an option here, is it? It is not a load capacity. Very high, very low, or average. I think we have to go for the coil. And then corrosive resistant there. Now it's style time. If we're going to use that phrase, style. I put a lot of air quotes around that. Ah, jeez. Ah, jeez. I accidentally made a dodge. Ah, jeez. Experience the wonderful shapes of a van. It has ones of design choices to make. Yeah, vans. Alright, we're going to stick with longitudinal rear-wheel drive for this Truffle Mark III. I might as well just go ahead and name it that. Truffle Mark III. And we'll start with, I believe, the commuter version. Is that what I called it? Commuter? I feel like I called it something else. Oh well, it's the one that fits the people instead of the stuff. You hear what I'm saying? And it will need an engine, and it is tradition to have a V8 in these. I think we will continue to do just that. I think I'm going to continue making it cast iron. I don't see a reason not to, honestly. And yeah, somewhere in that 4 to 5 liter range. Looks like maybe not as big of an engine bay in this particular van design. Let's go for direct acting overhead cam. Mixed metal? Nah. Maybe. Is it really much of a weight savings? 30 pounds, I mean 30 pounds adds up. Is it really not worth it just to do a whole aluminum engine then? Probably. Let's try it. First engine click through shows us having a little bit of knock issue, probably compression. Actually the muffler or the exhaust system is too small as well. Let's make sure we open that up. And then take out some compression till it's happy. 279, 252. Engine technology is certainly on the move here. Things are getting to the point of being quite a bit better. And even with single point EFI, just for the added cheapness and engineering time cheapness, still not a bad setup. How is it for economy? 1575. That's really not too shabby. Certainly better than the Mark II. But we want to make sure this thing's as future-proof as possible. So I think what I want to do is actually lean it out some and try and get that economy even lower, or economy better, fuel consumption lower. 15.98. Can we hit 16? 16 seems like a nice number to hit, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Alright, 16.34, 275 foot-pounds, 249 horsepower. That all seems fine and dandy. Technically could use or want some more RPM. It gives us a tiny little bit more of performance index. Not worried about that though. I would much rather the higher reliability of 57. The low weight of this engine should mean that that is plenty of power. I can't imagine there's a lot of 90s cargo vans out there that have much more power than that. Probably using significantly more engine displacement to do it. Alright, so we'll get through here pretty quickly, I think. A nice chunky 185. We can probably go to 195. Chunky sidewall, 15-inch tire. Should be good on some steel wheels. Vented, probably 2 piston, maybe more. We'll see. And vented rears, so just so we don't have brake fade issues. We're going to semi-clad it. Way too much grill. Semi-clad it just for the sake of gaining more MPGs. Let's see. Probably 6 people, I'm thinking. And then... Standard? Standard? Power steering and ABS. Standard. We'll give her a quality bump. Yeah, we'll go progressive. Easy for me to say, apparently. Passive, and then comfort. Initial build-out scores here are looking okay. Not amazing. I mean, this one's pretty good for that affordability, and a score. Utility is pretty high, but not amazing. And it never was the commuter version that seemed to do that well. It's probably... it could be more drivable. I think that's one area I see that could be improved upon. And indeed it was. Now we're at 0.86, 0.95. Those are much nicer numbers. And we're still bottoming out a little bit, so let's get rid of that. There we go. All good. And now our score's looking even better. Interior-wise, let's check the seat. Actually, let me go... Whoops. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's erroring out there, so let's go back. I didn't mean to click that yet, but I definitely need to restart the game after I get this done. Having that issue once again. Alright, so utility looks good, utility premium looks good, family utility premium, utility sport looks good. Alright, it's utility sport premium, family utility, pretty good scores. It's actually a little under budget on that. That's interesting. Heavy utilities looking pretty good, so none of this is too bad. And even with a decent markup, we're still above hundreds in certain categories. So yeah, this looks pretty good for a start. Gonna go ahead and do the restart thing now. And we're back. Alright, so what are the scores? I mean, 12.6 miles per gallon. Well, that's not amazing. Not amazing by any means. Is there anything we could do to improve upon that? Maybe a little bit more overdrive? Yeah, it does get a little bit better. Quite a performer this thing is. 7.7 seconds 0 to 60. That's almost too good, is it not? Alright, interesting. I'm gonna space this just to help them MPGs out as much as I can. Wheel-wise, I think we're good. How are the brakes? Could use more front brake. Interesting. So 3 pistons up front? Seems that way. And we don't want to make them any bigger than we absolutely need to. The rears look pretty much right on target. Yeah. Cool, cool. Alright, and I think we're all good here. Kind of curious. You know what, that actually does improve scores a little bit. So let's go for the off-road skid tray because it's giving it more utility in the way that it has the off-road ability. That almost kind of rhymed, and I'm a little happy about that. So the next question is, how many seats? Seems like, well, seems like 5 might be the answer. It's still a thing where many seat vehicles, not a very popular thing in this game, it seems. How about the basic versus premium? The family premium category seems to prefer it, but it does make it more expensive, and they're not in love with that idea. They do really love the extra safety, so we will do that. Did it save my markup at all? It did not. Okay, so let's say 20% markup. Very good in family utility premium and utility sport premium. I think that is good for the commuter version. That is not what I called it. What did I call it? I think it was just the people. I'm just gonna... It's the people version. And we're gonna we're gonna change things up a little bit for this one. That's the people version. And this one is gonna be the stuff version. Because there's two reasons you would get a big van like this. You either gotta move people, or you gotta move stuff. Now, this guy here has got some options. So we have this one, or this one. Oh, just a plastic bumper. So what's the difference between that and this one, though? Is it shorter? Oh, yeah, this one adds a big thing to the roof. I think we have to go for the one with the big thing on the roof. I'll just fix the taillights. Because who doesn't want a big thing on the roof, right? And I should increase its utility. Yes, utility is on the rise. How does that change its marketability? Heavy delivery, pretty good. Pretty good. Delivery, pretty good. Heavy utility, pretty good. Utility premium, still amazing. Utility's pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of pretty good through here. And that's with a 20% markup. I think this is doable, but I wonder if there's ways we can make it more utility friendly. Or more like delivery and... let's just try heavy delivery. Where's this one? See if I can do some things to entice those buyers. Indeed I can, like 2 seats. The basic interior, not so much. They don't need no damn ABS, apparently. Standard safety? No, they do like the safetiness of it. Well, that's fine. I mean, we'll consider that like a headache rack in there so the stuff doesn't run you over when you gotta slam on the brakes. Which it still has pretty good brakes. And let's see here. Give it bigger tires, maybe? It doesn't really help too much. Actually, I mean, a very, very little amount that it seems to help. Okay, well, that's a thing. Alright, so there we go. Now we got the stuff up and above 100 on heavy utility and heavy delivery, as well as just utility premium, even with a 20% markup. That's a good sign. We didn't name this engine. Generic V8 with the variant of even more generic. Alright, good. Let's see if... Okay, no errors. Engineering time, pretty significant. That's more significant than we've seen in the past. Now, this is 2 versions of it, so I guess that is a part of the puzzle here. We have lots of money, so let's go ahead and increase funding on that so that we can give it a little bit of more reliability. But yeah, 3 years, 9 months. That ain't no joke. Good thing the Truffle Mark II is still doing well. The engine is super simple. That doesn't take any time. So we can just crank the reliability on that, even if it does cost a little bit more money, and then save some money on just the overall funding. Actually, a lot of money. Cool. Alright. And of course, we'll be using Truffle Mark II's factories, which were always a tad undersized, but let's be honest, it did pretty darn well, so obviously it worked out. Let's keep everything as much the same as we can. Now, here's a difference I didn't consider, is that we now need a galvanization plant inside of the factory because of the fact that we did the galvanized chassis. We've never done that before. Keeping everything pretty much the same as it was set for the Mark II, at least to give us an initial reading. And I think it actually increased in score, so that's cool. Oh man. I think it's gonna do pretty well. 8.49 and a 12.09. So we're talking huge markups. Well, let's bump the shifts all the way up. And then the huge markups. Let's just get them down to 2. Yeah, so we'll say like a 50% markup. And that should give us decent numbers of, how much this is going to cost and how long it's going to take to break even. Supposedly, this thing would start production November 1994 and break even in September of 1995. So, pretty good. Pretty good. Only a $615 million project, so the galvanized plant, not too bad. It did some pretty aggressive automation in the factories so that we would be able to sell them at a little bit more of a profit overall as we go. This is a very important car for our company because it lets us do the fun stuff, and I like doing the fun stuff. So 10 months break even point and a car that looks like it would be possibly as successful, if not more, than the Mark II Truffle. I think we have to sign off on it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and go through a few years here and see what the economy is doing, what the market's doing, and all that fun stuff. And see how the Sharky and Jaws are holding up, because it is important to know how profitable those are going to be before I think we start working on a Zoids replacement. Because I like to have fun with our company. That's the whole mantra for me. It is not absolutely making the best company or getting the highest score. It's just having fun with the storyline of a company. Like, in my mind, this is a real car company, and if I was really the CEO, this is the kind of screwed up stuff I would be doing. Making money makers in order to make money losers that I actually enjoy making. I would be a terrible business owner. Alright, both the Sharky and the Jaws. It looks like we're going to increase production on them. Well, markup on the Jaws. Because we're running out of stock on them pretty consistently here. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, even still with those actions, we were running out of Sharky and Jaws. 588,000 cars sold, pretty good. And an increase in reputation and prestige. A $1.6 billion profit this year. Not too shabby. I am pleased with that. Alright, pause. Economy, what are you up to? Looks like we're level. Level is good. I can handle level. I have no problems with that. I don't need this craziness necessarily to make this company maintain at the moment. That's fine with me. We're gaining a lot of awareness in some areas, like in the fun premium areas. 80.5, that's a number I've never seen before. Pretty high in the convertibles, pretty high in family sport. Decent in commuter there, and family utility premium. Truffle still holding on strong there. The magnet is still making a pretty decent impact. Our sales, though, we still knock it out of the park in the sports stuff. That's our big money maker. And then for Frenia, a smattering there. We're doing okay with the city stuff. Those cars, the magnet is doing well over there. Arcana is online, but it doesn't look like we're selling anything over there. Maybe it's not online yet. It could be soon. But either way, still pretty darn good for our company. Let's go ahead and give it another year, and let's get the Sharky and the Jaws a little bit more towards having a surplus of cars. That would be nice. Alright, 1992 in the books, 588,000 cars again, pretty much the same. A little bit of a drop in reputation, but a little bit of an increase in prestige. We're staying very close to zero in both of those, honestly. So no big moves or gains or losses there. A $1.6 billion increase in the overall budget this year, and a weird year for economy, I have a feeling. Really? Because for whatever reason, the magnet and the Truffle kind of took off, and the Sharky and the Jaws dropped off a very little amount. So what I'm wondering is, did Arcana come online? No, but is Frenia maybe taking off? I think that's probably the case. I think Frenia is buying a lot more cars all of a sudden. That's where I think the changeover was, because look at the amount of city cars they're buying. And utility. That's my guess. That is my guess. All right, it's 93. Next year we start the Truffle Mark III, and the Magnet Mark II. Again, it's doing fine. It's making $45 million in profit. Look at the Jaws go, $74 million in profit. Yikes! Sharky doing 54. Even the Zoids is, well, it's making some profit. It's not doing amazing. Um, but I think what I want to do is, instead of doing a magnet, let's look at maybe doing a Zoids. So let's look at coupes of the last 10 years. And what's mid-engine? Nothing in rear engine. Mid-engine, I want to say this is the one we used last time. This one is a newer one. This one's in the game. I don't really remember what the Zoids was. I have to look. Who are you, Zoids? Who are you? Oh, it's this one. It's none of the above. Okay. Alright, well that gives us plenty of flexibility then. Alright, so yeah, like I said, we got options here. We have the little one, the little MR2 body. We got the big one like this, and we have this one. We have the F50 style body, which I adore. I love this body style quite a bit, as well as this one. But I'm thinking probably this guy, because I prefer to think the Zoids as more of the entry-level exotic for the first generation, and maybe we pushed it a little further now, just to really announce to the world that our company is really taking hold and it's really performing. All right. So let's consider some options here. Monocoque for sure. Space frame, definitely not. We still want to do some kind of mass production of this car. It is not a complete exotic, one of one kind of car. Mid transverse is the easier way to go. Service costs are extremely high in mid longitudinal, but you do get more space to put an engine. But I think we can do transverse. Push rods are now available, but push rods are just not the option for us right now. Extremely high engineering time is certainly a problem. The body, though, I think I'm going to try to do partial aluminum on the body, just to try and save some weight and give it a little bit more prestige. Certainly has more prestige than absolutely nothing at all. Average. Okay, so yeah, just lower weight. That is it. That is the only difference. But it's something new. It's something different. Style time. Alright, once I get the battleship sunk wheels in out of there and some actual wheels on this thing, I think I have pretty much nailed the 1995 supercar look. It's just a blend of all of them, and it's everything that I liked about them. So that is that. Let's say that this thing is going to be rear-wheel drive, because I can't imagine trying to do a car like this all-wheel drive. And I'm going to go for a flat plane V8, and I'm going to go for aluminum, thinking around 3 liters. And I'm going to let myself decide as I go here whether I want this to be either a 3-liter V8 that just screams to the moon and makes power, or if I want to be crazy and make this thing twin turbocharged. I've not yet decided. Time will tell. We do have the advantage of, let's see here. Can hyper cast? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We do have the advantage of now being able to use VVT on intake or all cams. That gives us a nice little boost for the top end power, at least. So that's at our disposal. And lots of cam profile. You can see I already went to 10 to 1. So obviously I'm thinking, as of right now, probably a crazy running on super unleaded fuel, high-strung, naturally aspirated V8 that maybe makes 300 horsepower, 350 horsepower. But I'm not sure yet. I just don't know that we have enough chassis and tire tech for 95 to be putting the 500 horsepower we could be making in a twin-turbo V8 to the ground. That is a problem. So without doing anything not amazing, We could get a lot more power out of it, obviously by increasing the RPM. However, the bottom end parts are not going to survive it at all. It's too fast. 7,000 RPM for pistons of that size with a stroke that long, not going to be livable, and still under 250 horsepower. So that's a problem. Um, we could potentially solve that just by making this engine a larger bore and a shorter stroke, as most very high revving V8s are. It's worth noting that giving it more cam profile actually does help valve float. So that's something that I commonly forget about, and probably shouldn't. So more cam profile obviously means we can also throw more compression at it. And we're talking insano levels of compression. Insano, 11.9 to 1 definitely qualifies as insano. 308 horsepower, but it makes it just at the tip. Just the tip. And could probably give it a little bit more RPM to have a little bit more overrun on it. She's a screamer. Like, it makes a ton of power and a ton of power up high, and I do love an engine like that. But is it really better for us than a turbo engine would be? I don't know the answer to that as of right now. Here, let my ears decide for me. How awesome does this sound right now? I'm not displeased. I'm not displeased with the way that that engine sounds at the moment. Would turbo noise on top of that be even better? I don't know. I mean, 308 horsepower, 241 foot-pounds. Not displeased with that for a very light, small engine. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. That's our NA variant. Let's copy that bad boy. Copy that bad boy. Choose it. And let's do a turbo build. Compression down. Probably 9.0. And then richness, as much as we can get out of it, basically. Because we're gonna need it for those dudes. Turbos. And let's see here. Not a ton of boost. I'm thinking maybe like 10 PSI, because we don't want to go into the 500 horsepower territory. That's not what we want. That is not what we desire at the moment. Large intercooler, and let's see. This thing could probably spool up a lot sooner. All right, so this engine could make easily 400 horsepower and have a decent range of power ratio down low. That wasn't even a real term. Don't ever use the word power ratio. You'll sound like a real idiot. Let's go for a ball bearing turbo so that it spools up a little quicker. And do we need more exhaust now? We certainly do. 414 horsepower. What's the reliability like? Still 52. This thing is insane. And there's still a lot of octane left in it. So, like, that's not even the most it's gonna make. What does it sound like, though? What does it sound like? That's important. I think that wins. That was the most glorious sound I've ever heard. I think that wins. I don't know that I've ever heard a flat plane V8 with turbos on it. I don't think so. No, BMW is currently using crossplane V8s with twin turbos. However, because they're freaking BMW, they don't let you hear anything. So I wouldn't even know if it was. Alright, so we have both of them. I'm going to use the turbo one to build the car at first. And if it's just completely uncontrollable, we have the NA engine to fall back on. There we go. That's what we're going to do. Alright, so Zoids Mark II. This is going to be the Insano version, because this is going to be faster than anything the world was prepared for. Does it break 200 miles an hour? Not as of right now. Hopefully it might be able to with the correct stuff. Let's do a viscous rear diff. And then definitely sports. Definitely semi-slicks. We'll need them. How wide? 245. Wow, that's impressive. 255 even. 16? Yeah, that is very surprising to me. Yeah, I think it's gonna be these. Whoa, Xerxes agrees. He just meowed louder than I've ever heard. Alright, low profile tires, that's as low as we can go. I think the 16s are a good fit. Gonna offset those rears a bit. We can offset both. Yeah, there we go. Aluminum. Forgot to choose it. Vented discs. 2 pistons. Because we got pretty big brakes in this thing. Fully clad. Ooh, we need more cooling. A little bit more cooling for sure. Survey says it's an oversteering mess, but it's got 100 in track premium. I'm liking the way this is looking. I'm liking the way this is looking a lot. Getting this thing to not be an understeering mess, gonna be a struggle. But before I do anything, I need to go back and throw some more vent into it. So let's make, oops, let's keep it there, but make it larger. There we go. That should be plenty. That should be more than enough. Okay, so now cooling airflow. Wait, how did it go down? How did we lose cooling airflow? How is this possible? Oh, it's all about where it is. Okay, it's back up. 460. Silly game. There we go. Reliability should be fine, right? Yeah. Looks like we need some downforce for sure. So let's add a little bit of downforce to this thing, especially in the rear, to try and tame that oversteer. We don't want to go too crazy with it, though. Starting to wonder if I'm not going to need to go ahead and make the stagger a little bit more on this thing, just to try and get rid of this oversteer. Well, I was able to do it. The sportiness, though, is hurting because we've gone so far to try and make this thing understeer that it's actually hurt its ability to turn at some point. So there's a fine line there. Sportiness on a 0.96, drivability of 0.85 is pretty good. Pretty good. I would like it to be better, though. Alright, not bad. Not bad at all. Is that the widest tires we can put in the back? It is not. Wider tires all the way around, and then it starts to oversteer again. We can do even wider in the rear. Even wider in the rear. It's not going to overcome it. That seems to be about the magic combination. Is the 235 and 255. Which isn't bad. I can deal with that. Let's look at our scores real quick. We're over 100 Light Sport Premium, Track Premium, and Track. Over 100 in Light Sport, over 100 in Sport, over 100 in Muscle. It's quite a muscle car that we have here. And, you know, Family Sport Premium. It's a very reasonable family car. Take little Johnny to school in it. Everyone is going to hate him. Everyone. Every single person there is going to hate him, just so you know. As of right now, this car only costs $15,000 to make, which is insane. But we will need to mark it up significantly to make any kind of profit on it, which is fine, because it seems that we have that very much so in the budget. And it's interesting, marking it up makes it actually perform better in some of the categories, like GT and stuff like that. But yeah, even with 30% markup, still over 100. Nice. Sounds like good news, but it's actually great news, because we are not done yet with this car. We still need to do some tuning on things like the gearing, which can go even faster, 0 to 60. Yikes. Oh, this thing's like scary levels of fast, is it not? See, just think about this for a moment. 1995, a car with this much power doing a 0 to 60 in 4.6. By 2017 terms, that's, you know, a pretty quick car. By 1995 terms, that's like What? Pretty insane. Pretty insane. We need more front brakes. That is very surprising. We can do it. We can comply. And then significantly less rear brakes. Significantly more rear brakes. It actually quite likes having a lot of rear brake. Probably because of the mid-engine nature of it. And then I also raced up the pads, which seems to have also helped. Fine line to walk there. Alright, arrow-wise, at high speed, it does seem to have now more of an understeer than an oversteer. That is a very nice thing indeed. So, not so worried about the fact that it might want to kill you when you're doing 179 miles per hour. So ultimately, this car does not have the fastest top speed I've ever seen. It's just extremely fast to get to that top speed. And I believe it's the torque curve of the engine and the fact that it overall does not have a staggering amount of horsepower, although 427 horsepower is not a little amount. It's not an insane amount, so it's not super surprising that it doesn't do 200. But I'm pretty happy with 179, and I'm really happy with how fast it gets there and how well it handles overall. Seems the buyers will be pretty pleased with that as well, since the Lite Sport Premium and Track Premium guys are pretty happy about it. Interesting that it doesn't actually score that well in the Super and the Hyper categories. However, this body is apparently too old for Hyper, not too old for Super. But look at the budgets here. We're talking a $20,000 car versus a $132,000 car. So when I say this thing is massively quick, it's massively quick for the money too. Like, this thing is a bargain. Alright, enough tinkering around with it, just some more interior changes. Let's see if this thing's actually feasible to build, because that's important. I left myself available to use on engine, which I have a feeling I'll probably need to use me for that. Budget, let's certainly spend a good amount of money on this car to make sure we get it out in a timely manner, because this is the kind of category where you can get beat out pretty quickly. And yes, indeed, this is probably the most intense engineering project for an engine I've ever seen. Obviously, we're going to turn off... Oh, it already defaulted to turning it off because we're not using it at all. Turning off the NA build because we don't need it. And let's see here. Okay, it's on none. And this guy, we need to get it down to 3 years, 7 months if doable. Probably not doable. Even with full massive funding, 3 years, 10 months. So yeah, we'll just go with 4 years. That's fine. And we'll bump up the reliability of the chassis and cut its funding a bit. Oh, but wait. I didn't hire me. All right, me. Let's see what you got. 3 years, 9 months. Cool. All right, that's much better, actually. So this will be taking place of the Zoids, so we will assign it to both of those, which will save us a good amount of money. And nothing new needed here, just the galvanization. That seems pretty cheap. That's good. That's good. And that's good. So it actually came down in price a little bit, I think. Neat. Okay, so with a 30% markup, demand is okay, not amazing. And I have a feeling, yeah, a 42-month break even. So despite the fact that this car looks really good on paper, it's going to have a really, really hard time ever breaking even. And because of that, I'm going to try and save some money here and there on it. I mean, technically, we should be able to sell it at a 50% markup. Technically. And that would bring us down to 26 months, which is more reasonable. Either way, either we'll make less of them or we'll charge more for them. But I would definitely like to save a bit of money here. So I'm thinking about, well, let's see. Tooling cost 170 million. We have to have the galvanization. And we have to have all of this. But we don't need to build quite as many cars, I don't think. Alright, did some more tweaking, and I changed the size of factories that we would be using down to medium 1s and medium 1. And that actually did help quite a bit. Not only did it make the cars cheaper to make, We still make plenty of them, so our demand came up, and overall the grand total of the project came down. If this car never turns a profit, we can totally afford to lose that $550 million just to produce something that I think is pretty freaking cool. And because I like it so much, even though this is not really what I think is a winning, profitable car, I'm gonna make it anyway, just because I think the Zoids is freaking awesome. And this is a prime example of why I would be a terrible company CEO. And I'm gonna hit start, and I'm gonna say that I am really excited to see how the Zoids compares to the other 1996 supercars. And I'm also really excited to see that the Truffle, hopefully, does even better than the Mark II did. And we will have to wait until next time to find out just how well either of those does. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you in that next time. Video, thing, place, space, time, continuum.